All right, I want everybody to understand right up front that this is one of the more important videos I'm going to be doing this year. And yes, this year, 2024, is coming to the end. And yes, the Senate has and is pushing to its floor the largest Social Security benefit increase that we will see in 2024 under Biden's presidency, including all of his 4 years. Now, just to be very, very clear, 118th Congress, second session 2024, just so you understand, the technical last date, okay, of the Senate is on the 20th. Today is the 18th. So technically, target adjournment would be in 2 days for them to pass this bill. Now, of course, if they pass it, President Biden, very likely, I hope, I would expect to pass essentially the Social Security Fairness Act. But with that said, they're going to look at adjournment within 2 days, which means this thing has to hit the ground and floor running and go big fast. As you know, the House passed it. Now it's with the Senate. Let's go right into it. This is an article from CNBC. I think they did a pretty good job outlining it. Senate may soon vote on a bill to change certain Social Security rules. Here's what to know. During the Senate's final days of business in this congressional session, it is expected to vote on a bill that would change certain Social Security rules. So that's the Social Security Fairness Act. And what it is, just so you know, is an overarching identity as to this massive Social Security benefit increase for a lot of people, is that there's two main provisions. The provisions are where basically wives, spouses of those government workers who are getting a pension would not have their benefits reduced. And also, those people who receive some sort of other government pension and didn't pay as much into Social Security would go ahead and no longer be penalized for having basically a smaller Social Security, actual, pension or whatever you want to call it, retirement or any benefit due to them. Now, with that said, I want to point out one thing. This is called the Social Security Fairness Act. The title can be misleading depending on which side of the argument you're on. One side of the argument is that it's actually fair to keep things as they are. They were put in during the 70s and 1983 Greenspan Initiative changes, which basically created a fair system where those individuals, this is the WEP part of it, those individuals who basically paid into some other pension other than the Social Security program pension for most of their career would not get to have the benefit of having the poverty standard apply to them. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're a cop or a sheriff or a marshal or a police officer or somebody with a badge and you think it's shiny and you like it. You like it a lot. Let's say you're one of those individuals, because that's the class. You could be a fireman. You could be a civil service worker with this type of setup. But the bottom line is, let's say you got a badge, okay? So you've got this badge. You are working, right, with, for example, doing your sheriff thing, and you're paying into that particular pension plan as opposed to the Social Security Administration's usual FICA taxes. The idea was this, that basically, if somebody paid most of their time into this other pension, well, they wouldn't have much FICA taxes paid into the Social Security system, so their benefits from the Social Security system would be very, very small. Now, here's the kicker. People who don't pay in that much to Social Security benefits get what's called the poverty home field advantage. What do I mean by that? Social Security benefits are set up to F over the rich, F over the middle class, and really bolster the poor. Why? We set it up this way, just like our taxes, because the rich are just going to get richer, the poor are going to get screwed no matter what. The middle class are going to get screwed no matter what, and the poor need the most help because they need the most worth of the benefit. So let's say if the rich are only getting 20% back of what they paid in, and the middle class is only getting 40% back of what they paid in, the poor would be getting 80-something% back of what they paid in. Not perfect numbers, but giving you general understandings that the poor, under these systems set up by the American government, do really well in how much they get back from how much they actually paid in. So as a result of that, the whole idea here, just so you kind of have an understanding of it, is that they're saying, look, if you're a cop and you pay into your pension through the cops system and you only pay a little bit in with Social Security, then that cop is getting a big pension over there and a little pension with Social Security. But that little pension from Social Security is boosted because Social Security thinks that cop is a poor person because they didn't pay that much into it. Remember, the less you pay into Social Security, the bigger the boost you get, right? Because it's a poor or poverty boosting program. Super thank you to Royalty 72. We all know that as Diana. Very, very cool. Thank you for the $2 donation. We'll give Shadow and Sweetie a big hug. I'll have an actual video update on Sweetie in the not too distant future. Her surgery is going very, very well. Now, with that said, the whole argument here, what's getting the senators pissed off about this whole thing is that in 1983, they said, look, we got to save money. The trust funds are running out. What the F are we going to do? They all got in a huddle. They created a commission, and they basically started to screw over the American people. That's what they did. Now, you will notice as an overall arching theme that Trump and his advisors said, all right, guys, what's our game plan for getting Social Security people on our side? And then basically those advisors, who I think were a bit lazy in their application here, they were lazy. I don't think they were lazy. They said, you know what, those 1983 changes, we can just start changing those back. Because that's what it is. When they started taxing retirement benefits, and doing more of those shenanigans, that was the 1983 commission when the trust funds were literally going to run out, like what we're facing in 2033. So Trump said, all right, we're not taxing the retired people anymore. They already paid their taxes, and boom, instant hit. That guy is good at little ideas that are easily digestible. With that said, this other change would be a win for the Democrats, specifically for government employees. Now, here's why. If this Social Security Fairness Act goes through, it will change two things, right? So you've got the GPO and the WEP, but let's just stick with the WEP right now so you get the basics of it. The idea is, if a cop is working all the time and they got their big pension over here, and then they're paying a little bit to Social Security over here, they go ahead and normally, under the normal rules up until 1983, would get the advantage of being given more of their money back because Social Security thinks they're an impoverished individual that didn't make much, didn't pay much in. But under the 1983 rules, they said, ho, cops, whoa, sheriffs, whoa, marshals, whoa, Fetty pants. Okay, what with the little right over there? They said, hey, you guys are getting an unfair advantage. You're getting your big pension over there, and you're getting the maximum benefit option as an impoverished, thought-to-be individual with the Social Security system. So they said, no. We are going to treat you fairly because you have a big pension somewhere else, and then you have your little pension through here. So we're going to go ahead and not give you as much of that poverty advantage, that huge home field advantage. And when they did that, they said basically to government employees that they were going to be treated more fairly based on what exists as a system. However, to be fair, and let's just be honest here, if you come out with anything that says like the This Fairness Act or That Fairness Act, people's brains are going to be like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. This is supposed to be the Fairness Act. Technically, it's actually the Unfairness Act. It gives the advantage back to government employees. But I want you to keep this in mind. I'm going to tell you right up front where I'm at with it. That way you have a much better understanding. And sorry about that. I'm going to shut off the text messages real quick. I'm getting texted from everybody. So the whole point here is this, and I want you to keep this in mind. Bottom line, okay? When it comes to this system, I am pro passing the Social Security Fairness Act because I want more money from Social Security ending up in the pockets of the American people. That's what I want. I don't want it ending up in Ukraine. I don't want it ending up in Israel. I don't want it ending up in Germany. I don't want it ending up in Canada. I don't want it ending up in Mexico. I want it ending up in American pockets. If those pockets move to other places, then it goes to other countries and continents, but not to other people who are not Americans who paid in. So for me, when it comes to money getting paid out, I'm for it because it's going into American pockets. That's what's cool with me. Now, with that said, let's go through this article a little bit real quick. That way you understand it. On November 12th, the House of Representatives passed the bill with the support of members of both sides of the aisle. It had a ton of co-sponsors in the House of Representatives. It was a very, very, very popular bill. Okay. Now, It is up to the Senate to pass a bill amid a packed schedule that also includes a deadline to avoid federal government shutdown, which I don't know if you guys just noticed. Trump threw his hat in the ring with that one and said, nope, I want you to renegotiate that. So bottom line is now they're going to be working late. So we know this. Add this to your pocket of knowledge. Number one, the Senate is not going to have a fun Christmas vacation or holiday vacation like they had hoped. Why? Because Trump is making them go work harder at their jobs. Right. I feel it. I cry for them every night and all of their massive, massive increases in wealth that they have. Now, with that said, we know that that gives more opportunity to the Social Security Act with passing. I don't know why so many things are texting me right now. Hold on, let me get this over here. So the bottom line is this. That means we got a chance. Because if we were stuck with 2 days to get this thing passed, it wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen, right? There wouldn't be enough time by the 20th. It's the 18th today. It wouldn't happen. Now, it's up to the Senate to pass this bill. The Social Security Fairness Act would eliminate certain rules affecting some public pensioners. The windfall provision, right? The elimination provision, the WEP, and the government pension offset, the GPO. WEP was 1983 and they put it in, the GPO was 1970s. The WEP reduces Social Security benefit payments for individuals who also receive income from non-covered pensions, payments from employers who did not withhold Social Security taxes from their salaries. Again, the whole idea with the WEP is very simple. In 1983, the government said we're running out of money in Social Security trust funds. We're unfairly giving advantage to those government workers who are getting a pension over here and a Social Security pension. Their Social Security pension was a smaller amount paid in. Ergo, they got the maximum poverty benefit because the Social Security system said, oh, they didn't make much. They didn't pay much in because we only received such little amount. So they gave them this huge poverty boost of receiving much more of their Social Security actual benefits through the SSA. Is that fair? Shit, no, it's not fair. Of course it's not fair. Is it a good idea that we allow these government employees to have it? Yeah, I think so. I think, well, you're going to give it to Ukraine? You're gonna give it to, if you look like you're gonna give it to Ukraine. No? Okay. So the bottom line is this, okay? Anyways, the GPO adjusts, this is the 1970s one. The GPO adjusts Social Security spousal or widower benefits for people who receive income from non-covered pensions. So think the spouses, the widows of those government employees getting affected where they don't get as good of a deal as before. Again, where do I stand? As long as we're putting out more money, we need to put it in American hands. The trust funds need a fix. These senators are squiggling in their little booties because they are afraid. They know that they are pushed to pass this because it makes them look like they did something really strong with Social Security in 4 years of not much being done until Commissioner Martin O'Malley got in with the SSA. So to be in a Commissioner, Keisha Kazi did a good job too. But the point that I'm getting at with this is that Biden needs a win. He needs something that looks good on that resume at the end of the day so that when he goes to sits on the beach, he can talk it up with seagulls and explain why it wasn't a shit show. Let's be fair here. This was not the best presidency we've seen, okay? I know some people will be like, oh, it was the best economy we've ever had. And I believe that there are special establishments for those individuals when it comes to taking time for yourself. It's called a beach, and it's called a book on the history of economics. All right, so here's the deal. I want you to understand something very simply. It is crucial for the Biden administration to have a win. Social Security recipients are the fragile class: elderly, retired, disabled, widows, disabled children. They are the fragile class. Which group of individuals was harmed the most by mass immigration, improper use of basically our petrodollar, which is, gas and pipelines and stuff like that, drilling, and also improper use of international trade? Well, that would be simple. The class of individuals harmed the most by these things: the immigration, the reserve currency problem, the petrodollar problem, is the fragile class people, because they get a check per month. The check isn't enough. The money doesn't stretch the full month, and they're shit out of luck. The group that anytime you go ahead and devalue the dollar by massively doing new loans, massively printing money, you screw over the Social Security recipients directly. That's the bottom line. Okay, that is the bottom line. So with that said, the WEP was enacted in 1983 to make it so workers with non-covered pensions were not reimbursed as though they were long-time low-wage earners. Social Security has a progressive benefit formula. Progressive means F over the rich, F over the middle class, boost the benefits of the poor. And what's really scary about it is that even when you consider that they boost the benefits of the poor, it is not enough. It is not even close to being enough to keep the poor people's heads above water. Now, Social Security has this progressive benefit formula, which means low earners receive a higher income replacement rate than people who pay in more. Then the government pension offset was established in 1977 and reduces Social Security benefits for spouses and surviving spouses who receive a pension based on their own government work that wasn't subject to Social Security payroll taxes, and Social Security spousal benefits based on their spouse's work record. This one's obviously emotionally more from the perspective of what's moral, the one that feels better, the one that feels more right. The WEP affected 2.01 million individuals, or 3.1% of all Social Security beneficiaries, which ain't small. That's over 2 million people as of 2022, and the number has grown from there. Now, with that said, the GPO affects around 735,000 beneficiaries as of 2022, obviously a little bit higher now. Now, according to the Social Security Administration, that rule, the GPO, would only affect about 1% of all beneficiaries, according to previous estimates from the Congressional Research Service, which you guys know as the CRS. Now, here's the deal. We're talking about 1% GPO, 3% for the WEP. That's 4% total. That is a chunk, a massive chunk of people affected by this particular bill. Now, to be sure, the WEP and GPO do not apply to everyone. Specifically, the WEP doesn't affect beneficiaries who have 30 or more years of substantial earnings under Social Security. So if you paid into Social Security your whole life because you were paying into that pension-based program, you don't get shit. You don't get anything. I'm sorry. I feel really bad about it. I don't know what to say to you, but it's not a bill that's going to be good for you. Now, here's the deal. The rule also doesn't apply to individuals who fall under other specific categories according to the Social Security Administration: federal workers who were first hired after December 31st, 1983, employees of nonprofit organizations that were exempt from Social Security coverage as of December 3rd, 1983, individuals who only received pension income for railroad employment, and individuals whose only work that didn't include Social Security taxes were before the work 1957. So some little caveats in there. Now, the GPO generally doesn't affect spouses or surviving spouses who receive government pensions not based on their earnings, or who are federal, state, or local government employees whose pensions is from basically employment where they paid Social Security taxes. So just to be fair, remember the big split on this thing is who paid into the Social Security FICA taxes, right, that came out of your payroll check, and who paid into non-Social Security, non-covered pensions outside of the SSA. That's the big split here. We got the non-SSA people where they might have paid in a little bit, and then we got the SSA people where they paid their FICA taxes into the Social Security system. Now, with that said, the Social Security Administration provides a tool on their website where they can walk you through what to do, how much you're going to get, stuff like that. Here's the thing. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York, the majority, the famous one, he put Social Security Fairness Act up for the vote. He said he was going to do it. He did it. It got there. And guess what? It has gone through the first stage of passage in its very, very direct flight to the floor of the Senate for the big vote. That's the big vote. That's the one that's important, because remember, you have to have a big vote on the floor in the House, a big vote on the floor in the Senate, and then those gentlemen and ladies take it on up to the president for the big pen signature. Now, Schumer, just to be understood with this thing, has since filed a notice that he intends to call a vote on the motion to proceed this week. If the vote proceeds and has the necessary 60, then it goes forward. It did. It actually pushed forward. It kept going, and it's doing well, which means we are opening up steam for this thing to potentially be passed. And it's weird and it's ironic, because Trump told the senators to go bleep themselves when it comes to the holidays and keep working on the government shutdown and fix the things he wants, they're going to be there late in the night anyways. So this could be the Democrats' big win for essentially this bill. Now, once a motion passes and proceeds, amendments to the bill could be proposed if Senate leadership allow for it, which is the spot that we're at right now. We're at the whole thing of, are they going to have a little change here, a little change there to it? And bottom line is now, at that point, it then proceeds to the floor. Now, the co-sponsors of the House bill had to file a discharge petition to bring it to the floor for a vote, which means it didn't go through committees. Similarly, lawmakers in the Senate have not had the opportunity to hear the drawbacks of a full repeal of the rules and the alternatives. That's what Sprick had to say. He said, full repeal makes the program less fair and more financially insecure. Now, just so you guys understand, there's a reason for that. It will speed up the process by which the trust funds will run out of money, which is not good because the trust funds are already going to run out of money around 2033 for retirement benefits. Now, here's what you need to know. If a senator was voted in the 2025 election, to go ahead and basically, it's technically 2024 election, but then 2025 to begin the process. That means 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. That means we are at 2028 when they are applying for re-election into 2029. That means they are on the doorstep of the Social Security Trust Fund running out going forward. Major. So do I believe the senators will have the cojones to go ahead and vote through the Social Security Fairness Act? I think you are about to see the greatest battle that will happen in the Senate in 2024, which will define the successfulness of President Biden's presidency with Social Security benefits and will decide the effectiveness of who gets to go ahead and claim the big win going into this next transition. Because, Trump would love this. Trump would love to have this big Social Security win or this big pass on his shoulders. And Trump's team has already proved that they're looking at all of those provisions they put in 1983 and trying to get rid of them so that people get more benefits, even though it'll make it all run out. Yeah, they think 5 months, 7 months, 6 months faster if they go ahead and apply this situation. Now, I want to take a moment over here to this and take a look basically at what's going on over here. Hold on. So let's get this going.
Madam President, I come to the floor to talk about the vote.
This is with Forbes, specifically from the Senate.
It sounds like motherhood and apple pie. The Social Security Fairness Act. Who could be against Social Security fairness? The fact of the matter is the policy does address a challenge with Social Security for a single-digit percentage of people who have a pension, a government pension program, and they're not necessarily getting exactly what they should back. So it is something we need to fix. But this is not the way to fix it. Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay, so just to give you a heads up, Republicans tend to be against it. That's just the bottom line. He's saying it's a small percentage, 3%, 4%, 2%, somewhere around there. The figures aren't always perfect, but bottom line is it's a smaller percentage. Also, the rules that were put in were actually more fair for Americans who weren't part of the government system. So what he's saying is, we're calling this the Social Security Fairness Act, but this actually is not the Fairness Act. This is the Unfairness Act because they're returning it back to the advantage being for the government people. However, and I would like to point out very quickly some questions that I would like you to think about when it comes to basically this situation. Number one, do you feel that government employees make enough? Number two, do you feel government employees receive enough benefits down the line? Number three, do you feel that the American people will align with the idea that future government workers should receive more than them? And the final question I have for you, which let me know in the comments, let me know in the other details, in the chat section. Do you feel going forward that they should be spending money from the trust funds, considering that we are walking our way into a red blinking light where the greatest amount of homelessness from elderly, the greatest amount of mortgages and rents not paid on time from people who work their entire life will actually occur? That's what we're facing here. All right, let's keep watching here. Let's keep it rolling. There we go.
10 years away from most economists' consensus believing that the Social Security Trust Fund is going to reach insolvency. 10 years. 10 years away. This bill will take $200 billion over that 10-year period out of the Social Security Trust Fund without any offsetting payment to it. So that is to right a wrong for a small percentage of people that should get fairly treated. They are going to raid $200 billion with a B.
That's a lot of money.
Over 10 years to pay for this. That pulls insolvency forward by 6 months. Now, 6 months to be reaching insolvency within the next 9 to 10 years, suddenly 6 months becomes a pretty significant amount of time. So we're bowing to,
He almost slipped up there. You notice that? He almost slipped up.
Against bills before because they say, I don't like the idea of something not going through regular order, getting dumped on us at the last minute and voting on it. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill has not even had a hearing in any committee in the House or the Senate. It got sent to us through a procedure called a discharge petition, which means that they've discharged their duty of doing regular order, sent it to us, and now we're about to take a vote today without having voted on it. Now, I know there are a lot of people that say Tom Tillis must be committing political suicide because how could you be against Social Security fairness? People asked me the same question when I was against the PACT Act that my office helped author. The PACT Act was a veterans bill, $1 trillion bill that we had a commitment to take through regular order to get it right before we passed it. And I talked to veterans groups who were concerned with my lack of support for a bill that I helped author. And I said, it's because I think you're going to regret it by us not thinking through the implications.
All right. So just to summarize,
me of 2 years.
He's saying they didn't have time to review it. They didn't have time to vote on it. They didn't have committees properly. It's going to cost a shitload of money. It's going to cost a significant amount of problems down the line with the trust funds. And bottom line is, he does not believe that it is fair to screw over the majority of the 97% for 3% of government employees, and not all government employees, to get a boost that was taken away from them to try and save the Social Security Trust funds in 1983 and also a little bit in the 1970s. So good points made. But now let's go to the opposing group, which is going to be basically, let's go to Maine. Here she is. Yep, hold on. Let me get right to her. Boom. Right here. Let's see what she has to say.
Please say that I have great admiration for the senator from North Carolina. This is a rare instance in which we see the issue differently.
Because nobody cares about Social Security. That's why it's rare. I
appreciate his leadership and hard work. Madam President, I rise today in strong support of the long overdue Social Security Fairness Act. This bipartisan bill would repeal 2 Social Security provisions that unfairly penalize many public servants in Maine and across the country. I also want to acknowledge and thank Senator Brown for his leadership. We have championed this bill together for several years. In fact, Madam President, we've been debating this inequity in the Social Security system for decades.
Now, let me just point something out real quick. Just because they were, going over something, trying to figure it out, trying to boil it down and get this thing to pass for decades doesn't always mean that's a great idea. So there's weakness in this startup. I would have started with a much stronger approach. But the bottom line that she's getting at is she is a spearheading party to this thing. She likes it because all of a sudden it's through the House, it's getting ready to roll in the Senate. So things are maneuvering very, very, very well. Now, keep in mind, she comes from the side of the coin where she's authoring, she's pushing, she wants us to go through. But the state of Maine will be very, very harmed by the amount of money this takes out of the trust funds and how the elderly there will be affected when the trust funds run out. So what's interesting is she is playing a very dangerous game with this situation for her future career. However, as you can see, she is not what they call a spring chicken or a young lady or somebody who's really going to be worried about a couple more terms down the line. So let's see what she's got to say. Hold on.
3, I held the very first Senate hearing on this policy. In 2005, the late Senator
2005.
Feinstein and I introduced the first Social Security Fairness Act. In 2007, Senator Barbara Mikulski and I introduced another version of the bill. And just last month, the House of Representatives passed the bill overwhelmingly by a vote of 327 to 75. It's
popular.
Now time for the Senate to finally pass this legislation so that it can become law.
Okay, so
it's the foundation.
And then she goes into the foundation, the things we always are used to hearing. I would not have started, in my opinion, with that sort of approach, that sort of startup. And the reason why is because I do not feel like she hit it hard, running fast. If you've got that many co-sponsors, you don't start with a whole dedication video to basically how awesome you are historically with this bill, how far back it goes. That shows weakness. If this thing was starting in 2005 to be pushed forward and you couldn't get it in until 2024 to the spot where maybe it'll pass, that to me is explaining, and that to me is weakness, and that's not acceptable. You don't start to push to go against the guy that came before you with that sort of rhetoric. You just don't. You hit it hard. You explain why families are suffering right now. You explain why people need money, why the dollar has completely demolished and has gone through these horrible, horrible situations. You explain the reserve currency problem on an international level against other countries and continents that are now switching to the BRICS nations, which will greatly increase the likelihood that Americans, of course, will go broke. As you've noticed, a lot of younger people are spending all their money on student loans. Older people have no more savings. It is very, very bad. Now, I'm going to go ahead and prep for the next video, but I wanted to just be very clear with this video. I support passing it because I want those dollars put into the hands of Americans. I don't think that the government employees get paid enough. And I think that their benefits are their only big whoop-de-woo, the big excitement that they get when it comes to retirement time. Working for the government is a sucky thing through most of your life. And then when you get to retire, it's supposed to be better. But if we keep having a situation where our government keeps destroying our ability to make money from oil, then we are not going to have a beautiful retirement for people. We're just going to have what's called aged work opportunities for people, which we don't want. Now, you will have noticed that Biden was anti-oil for most of his presidency until the very end, where he went full Trump mode. He was the largest exporter of oil. He went full America boost, right? Never expected that, but he needed to go ahead and increase the likelihood that his economy would improve. Same thing with immigration. Lots of immigrants coming in, welded open gates. It was horrible. Lots of people coming in that shouldn't have come in. Bottom line, as a result of that, in that last final year, he tightened it up. He buttoned it up because he knew that those sanctuary cities, those places were significantly overloaded with individuals that had a totally different culture and had to be paid to be able to survive. One thing the Republicans don't tend to be very good with is understanding that when new people come to this country, we have to pay for them to exist in this country until they get a foothold. The foothold is usually 7 years of payments under supplemental security income, which is a Social Security poverty program not paid from trust funds, but paid from the general taxes. Refugees, asylum seekers, entrants, etc. As a result of this, that is why it is so obnoxiously expensive to the Social Security Administration, because they have to pay a ton of people to administer the progress of all those supplemental security income recipients that are new entrants into this country, not to mention the massive amount of money that has to be paid to people that didn't have to be paid before. So, is it my belief that getting money in the hands of people who spent their entire life working in the United States should get a little Benny? Sure, I agree with that. I'm fully for it. Do I think that the nation is going in the right direction when it comes to how Social Security has been treated under Biden's administration? I was happy during Commissioner Kijikazi. I was very, very happy under Commissioner O'Malley. I'm very worried about what's going to happen in the future. In the future, we're getting a hyper automation commissioner, somebody who comes from the marketplace where they are used to pro-profit employees. Government employees are not hardcore pro-profit employees. They're not sitting there trying to make a bigger percentage on a sales deal to get her done so she can push it forward. My point to you is very simple and very straightforward. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking to see how these future cuts to the SSA are going to be. The SSA doesn't have enough money to hire enough people. The SSA doesn't have enough money to train all these people that work for the SSA and administer benefits. I do not see a negative to getting rid of significant new larger amounts of immigrants who are getting an SSI check into the next couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, and then they get a 7-year check plus a 2-year add-on option. I do not see the benefit in Americans getting less. I see the benefit in Americans getting more. I will catch you guys at the next video in about 10 to 15 minutes. The next video is about a brand new law that's coming out January 1st, 2025 for the Social Security Administration, released as an emergency notice on behalf of the SSA directly from their website. I will catch you at the next video shortly. Please remember to head over to Google and type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida and throw some stars up there for a review. Remember to hit that like button. It's only got 417. Let's get it up. Let's get it up way up high. Remember to subscribe if you want to become a member. It helps me create more videos. Also, I go live to answer Social Security disability questions on Mondays and Thursdays. Most viewed and subscribed to Disability Attorney in America, very popular law firm. With that said, if you have a bigger, tougher question, we do private sessions. Well, it's me doing the private session, usually during my lunch hour, where basically you pay to buy a private session for 1 hour. I usually give it an hour and 10 hour and 15 minutes, and then we answer all your tough questions. I will catch you at the next video shortly, and it will be about 10 to 15 minutes, and I will tell you about that brand new emergency notification from the SSA website. See you soon. Have fun. Be safe, and we will catch up soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.